Hi, everybody. I'm so happy to see you all again. We're continuing our our Friday webinar series. Um, I was waiting a few minutes to allow more people to come into the room, and what I'm seeing is we get better attendance when we do Fridays at noon. So I'm gonna adjust the schedule so that I'm going to adjust the schedule just to allow, I think Fridays at 6 is kind of hard for people, but I do get like more response from the noon. All right, so let's get started. I'm excited. I'm always starting off with I'm excited because I genuinely am excited to talk about this stuff. And if you've worked with me individually, one-on-one, you know this is my jam. I love talking about this stuff. And not just talking about it, I love sharing because I want so deeply for women to understand the importance of all this stuff called business compliance. So let's get started on this presentation. Okay, so today we're going to do an update to the BOI and CTA. We did a webinar, a DIY your BOI webinar a few months back. So this is an update to some of that information that was shared. We're going to continue our vetting series. For the past two sessions we've done vet your tax preparer 1 and 2. If you did not see those, I would encourage you to check out those sessions because it's really going to help you if you are one, getting ready to file your taxes, two, already filed your taxes, but you want a strategy for going forward. And then lastly, we will talk about trade secrets. So here's the agenda. Update on the BOI CTA requirements. We're going to talk about exactly what is a BOI and what is the CTA. You may be wondering, well, do I need to file? And this is why I wanted to do the update because there was a change in the filing timeline, I think about 3 times. So I may discuss that a little bit at the end, but you may want to know if you are in compliance because some of you are already in compliance. And then we're going to talk about vetting your team. Now, this is a topic that's brought up to me a lot. Like, how do I get my team to fall in line, right? You want to ask yourself, do they know? Like, do they know who you are? Do they understand your business? And for at least my ideal client, your team is probably very small. You might even only have a VA or an assistant and a VA, or maybe you have a few independent contractors to support you. Do those people on your team understand your business? Do they understand the brand, right? And then we're going to talk about trade secrets. Think about what's your niche, and what economic value this niche brings to your brand. So those are our 3 topics for today. What is the CTA? I'm going to start off with that. And then, of course, what is a BOI? And when is the filing deadline? Oh, so it's no longer December 31st. It's no longer January. What was the January date? And then there was a February date. We're going to talk about it. So you may be asking, well, do I need to file? And, am I already in compliance? And how do I know? So what is the CTA? The CTA stands for Corporate Transparency Act. This was passed by Congress in 2021 on a bipartisan basis. I like to emphasize bipartisan because, politically, sometimes we think that there's a lot of division, but this was bipartisan. It was 2021 though. This law is a new reporting requirement that is intended to make it difficult to hide or benefit from tax fraud, money laundering, and ill-gotten gains. Now, if y'all remember part 1 and part 2 of vetting your tax preparer, then, tax fraud it should be a concern for you, right? So the funny thing about it is if you are working with a tax preparer and they haven't ask you those 4 questions, those 4 essential questions, you might want to be looking into see if there's tax fraud. Now, the funny thing is, the Corporate Transparency Act does not look to see if your tax preparer is giving you a strategy. They're not going to look to see if you're actually benefiting from the tax code, but oh yes, they will be looking to see if there's fraud. And what is a BOI? So this is the Beneficial Ownership Information Report. It's just information identifying the individuals who directly or indirectly control the company. That's it. So do you need to file? Yes, if. There's always some caveat when we're dealing with the law. So yes, if your company is a limited liability company or a corporation. Yes, if. Now, are there exemptions? I get that question a lot too. There are many exemptions for sure. You wouldn't be legalese if there weren't exemptions. So here are the top two. Most publicly traded companies are exempt, and many nonprofit organizations are exempt. So for my ITO client, and that's who I'm talking to you, you're not going to worry about whether or not your company is publicly traded. I don't tend to work with a lot of companies that are in that lane. I can help you get there, but my passion, my heart is, women business owners and helping them to protect and grow their assets, not necessarily publicly traded. Because once you're publicly traded, maybe you're a woman-led company, but you're no longer keeping it close to your heart, right? So I can help you get there. That's where you want to go for sure. But so yeah, most publicly traded companies and many nonprofit organizations, I say many because not all. So am I in compliance? So compliance and due diligence is critical. I want you all to know and understand that the information required for the BOI is necessary to maintain compliance. It's necessary. So are you in compliance? The answer would be whether or not you gave all the information that's necessary to what? Prevent tax fraud, to prevent money laundering, all of those things. And you probably can tell already, this is sort of like a pushback to what was going on in 2020, right? We're calling it the post-pandemic prod or the post-pandemic poke, right? So when we talk about necessary information, this means that providing this information is critical. Failure to comply could result in civil penalties of almost $600 a day. Those fines may have changed today. Criminal fines up to $10,000 and up to 2 years in prison. So as it stands, you want to try to get into compliance because although there are tons of lawsuits going on right now, and if you did not see the DIY Your BOI webinar that really broke down the case law and what's going on in terms of litigation, you want to check that out. It gives a little bit more detail. Today, I just want to give you the update and an overview. So it's important to know where you are in business compliance and to seek legal counsel if you are not sure how you want to proceed or how to proceed at all. I've worked with some clients that are like, well, I don't want to file a BOI. Is there something else I can do? I don't want to give up this information. What else can I do? I won't divulge the strategies that we created for them, but you might want to seek counsel on how you want to proceed in doing business. Or DYI, your BOI. So is there a deadline? Of course, there's a deadline. It's March 21st, 2025. That's the current deadline. I'm saying current. And I'm emphasizing that because back in November, the deadline was in December. And so I was like, you all, this is in December, you got to get it in. And a lot of people rushed to get their BOI done back in December, but due to all the litigation, it's been continually changed. So right now, it's March 21st, 2020. So for more information on the CTA, as well as your BOI filing, I want you to all to go watch the webinar replay of DIY your BOI. It gives you everything. It gives you the litigation history, history on the CTA, the Corporate Transparency Act. You may not be interested in that, but it also gives you DIY. I take you step by step on how to file it. And then there's an option. I don't want to be involved in all that. I might mess up. You can also work with us to get it done. Okay, but check out whether you decide to DIY it or work with a professional. Please watch that replay so you can have a foundation, what it's about, what's been going on before you jump into filing. Again, DIY your BOI. That's a webinar that will walk you through it, but not more importantly, remember, some of that information is not good anymore because the dates change, the filing dates, but it's still going to help you. And it's not a long webinar. Just jump over there and um, watch that. I will be sure to put the link to that webinar in the description of this one, as well as those that are already part of Dream Lawyers Family Fave. Immediately, you will be sent that if you haven't received it already. So, I just mentioned it. If you're a part of Dream Lawyers Family Fave, you will automatically get this recording. Oh, maybe I should say it's www.wasemelaw.com/famfave, FAMFAV, WASEMELAW /FAMFAV. Now, back to our agenda. We did that quick little update on the BOI. We talked about what it is, whether you need to file it. We talked about compliance. Now we're moving on to the juicy stuff, the new stuff, content I haven't presented yet. Now, this is about vetting your team. Do they know who you are? Do they understand your business? This is important. I'm going to slow down now. I was moving quickly through the BOI because I'm just giving a quick update, and there's a full-on webinar about it, but vetting your team, I need to move slowly. Do they know who you are? Do they understand your business? Ask yourself that. You're going to know. Intuitively, you're going to be like, you know what? This girl don't even know who I am. I know many of you have had moments like that where you're sitting there looking like, dude, don't even get it. You don't even understand my business. You're competent in what you do as a skill set, but you don't know me and you don't understand my business. So here we go. Bet your team. It's the same stuff. If it looks familiar, get used to it because I'm probably going to talk about it every single time, right? This is the know your business points. Know your goals. Does your team know where you want to be in 6 months to a year from now? Now, if this looks like I'm duplicating from vetting your tax preparer, it's because it is. Your tax preparer is a team member, right? Maybe somebody you only see once a year, maybe twice a year, maybe 4 times a year, right? But your team definitely needs to know where you want to be in 6 months to a year. They also need to understand your long-term goals. Now, long-term, we're saying 2 to 5 years from now. That's not really long-term, but it's long enough for your team, whether it's your tax preparer, whether it's your assistant, whether it's a partnership that you're contemplating. They need to know where you're going, where you're going to be 6 months to a year, so they know exactly what's the immediate priorities and where you want to be in 5 to 2 years. They need to understand. Well, you first need to understand that your business is profitable. It is profitable, and not even whether it's profitable. You want to ask yourself, is it profitable? You want to ask yourself that, right? I need you to say yes. Whether the numbers are currently showing profit in your bank account, right? You need to be saying yes. And is it a good investment? A lot of times when you're just starting out, maybe even in business for 3 years, and sometimes you might feel, I know I did, just starting out, I felt like as soon as well, it wasn't me, but as soon as the company got paid, it went out. So money came in, it was circulated right out. So is it a good investment? You need to understand that so that you can convey that to your team. And remember my know thy business. Your team needs to know your business deep. And when I say it this time, I'm talking about who you serve. They need to value the customer experience. They need to know what industry norms are for your business. They're going to be different from every industry. And since I talked about that a lot in Vetting Your Tax Preparer Part 1, I suggest you just circle back to that to really get into that industry norms. So who are you? Sit down like this lady here. She's sitting down in the quietness of her own space to know, right? And translate that to paper, however you need to do it. Do you need to journal it out? Do you need to draw it out? You need to have the experience of knowing who you are and translating it out onto paper, because if you cannot do that, how are you going to onboard your team member? How are you going to explain it to anyone else if you can't even write it out yourself, who you are, right? And you are the DNA of your company, or maybe the company is borrowing your DNA. You want to know, your team member, do they truly understand how your creativity translates into your business? Or are they just focused on doing what their little part? Everybody has a little part, but it comes together to translate into creativity for your business. So do they understand your creativity? Do they understand their creativity latching onto your creativity and how that translates into your business? They must. So that means you must sit down. I say this every time I talk about this. Sit down to yourself and write it out. How does my creativity translate into my business? If you cannot answer that question in writing, you're not going to be able to speak about it. It's important that they understand, because efficient team members maximize your potential. Think of your team members as an extension of you, almost close to cloning yourself. Is this person like going to be efficient for what we do here for me? And it doesn't matter if you have a team of 5, 10, 1. It doesn't matter if your team member is your potential partner, right? Just maybe you've been in business and you've decided, oh, let me create a partnership. Or if it's a new business and a new partnership, right? You want to know that working together is going to maximize your potential. We got to be selfish, ladies. We have to be selfish. How is this helping me? How can this person help me? And I want to emphasize that, because sometimes many of us are socially engineered to be helping everybody else. Even sometimes we'll hire somebody like, oh my goodness, they need a job. I can find a space in my business. No. How can this person help you? That's your question. You need to write that out too. Before you bring them on, I don't care if it's a VA. I don't care if you're bringing on somebody full-time as an assistant. I don't care if you're contemplating bringing on a partner. Are they going to maximize your potential? That's a tough one. And a lot of times with my clients, they can't handle that question because, like I said, we're often socially engineered to be helping everybody else and not to be turning within. How do they help you? So again, know thyself, know thy business. We already talked about in part 1 and part 2 of vetting your tax preparer, know thyself, right? So as you know thy business, right? Know thy team. Think about that. Sometimes we're not thinking about that. We may get the know thyself down pat, and I know myself, I know what I'm bringing to the world, and I know my gift, right? And then I know my business, the container for my gift to the world, right? But we don't even know who we're working with. That's serious. So how do you onboard and get to know thy team? And I want to focus on this as something that needs to happen before you even bring them on, and continually once they're on. Who do you serve? Who's your target audience? They must know and answer that, but you also need to be finding out from them, how important is that to you, right? Do you offer quality service? If you're here, I know the answer is yes, because I know pretty much everyone that's here, right? I know you're offering a quality service. Does your team know that, respect that, and desire to do that as well? We talked about industry norms, entity designation. It doesn't necessarily matter if your team member, depending on what position they hold, that they understand entity designation. I don't think that's all that important, but I have it here because you need to understand it. So you know where they fit within your entity, right? Is that a partner? Is it a joint venture? Is it an independent contractor? Is this a W-2 employee? All that's gonna matter, like we talked about in vetting your tax preparer part two. All that's gonna matter when it's time to file your taxes. It's gonna matter every single month, every single week, every single day, but you're not gonna feel it until it's time to, well, you might feel some of it, but you don't really feel it until it's time to file your taxes and pay taxes. When we talk about knowing thy team, know thy team, you need to look at your assets, assess the economic value, and then look at that person that's either your team member or a potential team member and start to think like, do I trust them with my assets? That's serious. We're gonna talk about that one. We're gonna talk about that one today, right? And then business compliance strategies. One, do you adhere to industry standards? Most of y'all, I can say yes. Off just right off the top of my head, I can say yes. But do your team members adhere to industry standards? So you want to find that out before you bring them on. And they may put up a good representative for you and provide great references that looks like they adhere to industry standards. But as I said, vetting doesn't stop at day one. You're vetting every single day. Think about a friend. I have a girlfriend, and we have been friends since, oh, I mentioned her at the last one. We've been friends since we were 4 and 6. And I said last time, I'm not going to tell you who was 6 and who was 4, right? But I know we're constantly vetting. I love her completely, unconditionally. But even your very best friend that you've grown up with and you've been friends with for over 40 years, 50 years, some of us, right? Um, Let them try something crazy with your husband. Let them do something funny with your children. Let yourself realize every time we go out, I'm always paying, right? We're constantly vetting. That's going to change the relationship, how you see that person, and inspire you to be making some decisions about that person, right? So you're constantly vetting. You will be constantly vetting forevermore. So don't be like, oh, I'm vetting. Of course, I'm vetting my husband or my boyfriend, my partner, whatever. Of course, I'm vetting them because they're not coming home. They're hanging out with somebody else, right? You're vetting. You're vetting your friends, right? Don't not vet your team members. Do not feel like, oh, I vetted them. They were good. I brought them onto the team. Good to go. No, vetting every day. So how do you vet your team? That's what everybody wants to know. And it's not just, give them a quiz or give them some sort of written exam. I do recommend that at least for my team because, it's heavy legal. So I need to know like what you know. I need to know some of that. So depending on your industry, you might need to vet them for their licensures. You might need to vet them for their knowledge on certain things. And that would come down to an assessment like this. But all you need to know, aside from those industry specific types of vetting, it's not even that I won't say it's not that deep because it is, but it's not hard to understand. All you need to know when you're looking at a pool of applicants or you're looking at potential partners, or you're looking at even investors, right? This is all you need to know. Boom. First of all, competency is a given. Let me go ahead and say that we're assuming everybody's competent. Everybody knows how to do their job. So that's not where we're at when we're talking about vetting at this stage. We're talking about integrity. I can feel integrity. Like God gave us intuition, integrity, and I'm so glad I mentioned the Most High because if you don't know, you can always ask. And you will be shown whether or not this person has integrity. You will be shown. 100% of the time, that's happened for me. Integrity. You can look at them and tell. Eh. And like I said, if you're not sure, you got to step back. And so I have this thing where if I don't know, I'm not moving. because that one quick decision that's not prayerful or clear. Like sometimes it's clear as a whistle. There's no integrity here. Or, oh my goodness, they have amazing integrity, right? So sometimes your intuition can speak like that. But depending on where we are in the day, in the week, in life, in your cycle, yeah, you might need to just pause for a minute. Haste makes waste. In addition to integrity, you want to think about work ethic because you're constantly vetting, right? Work ethic. What's their work ethic? Are they somebody that's going to sit with you and figure it out? Or are they going to be leaving you by yourself at the last minute? Like, I love a team member that says, I'm reaching out to them like, listen, it's getting late. Have a good evening. I'll see you next week. And they're like, what? I'm here. I'm here for you this evening. I'm here over the weekend. Of course, then I'm like, ooh, I gotta make sure they have some time off. But I like the recognition that what we're gifting to the world is powerful and valuable to them for one, but two, they got the work ethic to back it up. So then we're talking about aligned values, integrity, work ethic, aligned values. Integrity is the most important, of course. Work after competency, they got to know what they're doing, right? So integrity, work ethic, now aligned values. That goes back to know thy business and know thyself. What are your values? And do they line up with this person? What's important to them? That's, you know, basic. Like I said, it's not that hard to understand, but it is just that deep. People that align in values with you will go the distance because they understand what you're doing out in the world and they want to be a part of that. They want to be part of whatever change, whatever movement, whatever gift you are given to this world when they align with your values. And then personal development. Now, this is my favorite, and I usually save it for the end when I am interviewing. What are their personal development daily practices? I don't even ask, do you have a personal development daily practice? I don't even ask, do you have a daily practice? I say, what is it? Don't stutter. Don't stutter. You need to be having something every day that you're doing to pour into yourself to become a better person. That's one. But also introspection. Every day, you need to be looking at yourself. Where can I grow? How can I be better? Right? And not just that. What am I good at? What are the gifts and blessings that I give to the world? How is the world better because I'm here? Introspection, personal development. I need to know, what are your personal development practices? What do you do every single day? Right? Even I keep it as the last question in my interviews, but it's really one of the most important because even like it's more important to me than like aligned values because sometimes someone may have values that aren't as grown up, or as mature as mine are, but I can see they have good values. And with personal development, they're going to be there. So they already have the competency, they have the integrity, they have work ethic. The values are a little bit off, right? But maybe I was just there last year, so I can see that personal development is going to bring us along. So to me, personal development is, I'm holding it for last. I always do because sometimes it's distracting in an interview. When they're talking about their job experiences and this and that, and then you bust in like, so what do you do is your personal development practice? And they're like, if they're stuttering, it's perfect. It's a perfect question. Maybe they're stuttering. Maybe they're confused. Maybe they will be able to say something, right? But do they do it? Do they have something? And then you hit them with it. And what do you do every day? Not just do you have a personal development desire or, every quarter I go on a retreat. No, what do you do every single day? Personal development, it's the most important one to me. And I will encourage you to adopt that because people that you bring onto your team, and like I said, if you're here, it's invite only. So I already know who I'm talking to. Your team must be committed to personal development. I don't need to say anymore. So here we have integrity, work ethic, aligned values, and personal development. Because, like I said, you don't want to be sitting at the table, whether it's a virtual table or not, by yourself, leaving money on the table. Your team gone. They're like, oh, it's the game. Or, you know what I'm saying? You want a team, an actual team member. So sometimes you bring people on because they survived the interview or the interviews, but because you're continually vetting, you're going to see these things come out. And so what I always um, share with my clients is, okay, you like that person. They're aligning with your values. They're into personal development. The integrity seems there. Their work ethic seems there. Still put them on a probation. Still put them on, even if it's a mental probation for you, right? So just do your assessment because you don't want to be leaving money on the table and you don't want the table to be empty. And that's how money gets left on the table. You want a team that's going to huddle with you. Like, this is what we're doing. You want that feeling. You want the uh, the passion that you have for your business to be multiplied throughout your team so that you're not speaking in a single voice. It's multiplied and it reverberates throughout the universe. You want team members that are going to huddle with you when it's not working out. You want people around you that you trust when it's not good, because there will be times you might launch something and it doesn't turn out well. There will be times where a deal didn't close and you need to come back together, huddle, let's discuss this again. Let's rework this strategy. And there will be long nights or long days. Do these people have the work ethic? Do they have the aligned values? Do they have the personal development interest in personal development and personal development practice in place? Do they have the integrity, right? All of that, not just to be, okay, I'm working towards this thing for my boss or for this person. Is their heart in it? And more than that, do you want to be sitting beside them working on your stuff? Do you want to be sitting beside them? Do you want to be, or will you feel like, you know what? This is not the person that I want to be working late with. And it's not like always about working late, because I do encourage my clients not to overextend themselves. But is this somebody you want to be working that closely with? Can you say yes if your values aren't aligned? Can you say yes if this person has no interest in personal development? I don't think so. So again, integrity, work ethic, aligned values, and personal development. Because when you get there, that sweet, sweet, sweet spot, it's amazing. It is amazing. I promise you, it is amazing when you're gonna sit back and just exhale. Now, it's not like, okay, I got my team member on, exhale. No, because you're gonna be vetting continually. You're gonna care about them and they're gonna care about you. But you're gonna be feeling proud of your decision, right? You didn't just bring anybody into your business. You're going to be happy that that's somebody you get to work with every day or however often they meet with you. You're going to feel a sense of fulfillment. And I'm not even talking about the fiscal benefits of bringing them on. I'm just talking about the personal benefits of being able to work with somebody that is completely aligned with you. That in itself is fulfilling. So, in order to get there, you got to know thyself. I will be hammering this home forever until I'm blue in the face. Y'all gonna get sick of it, maybe. Those of you that understand the gravity of know thyself won't, but just get used to it. Know thyself. So let me give you a case study. What is this one? The unscrupulous partner. Why having team members with integrity, aligned values, work ethic, and an ongoing personal development practice is beneficial to you. So in our last session, I didn't have notes about my case study that I wanted to share. And I realized, you know what? It's kind of better if I just speak to y'all for what comes up. And so the unscrupulous partner. So I did have a client that had a partner, and the partner and the client decided to go their separate ways. That they grew a very successful business together. The majority of it built off of my client's intellectual property, but a successful business that is a gift to the world. Unscrupulous. Why? Because this partner um, decided to leave the business and violate the contractual agreement to not infringe upon my client's intellectual property. That's problematic. That is problematic. Now, would we be in this situation if there was vetting? Maybe. I can't say no because these things happen. But I just want to point out when your vetting does not take a deep dive into integrity, your vetting does not take into account aligned values, personal development, work ethic, you end up in these situations. And not to disparage my client for sure, she did an amazing vetting job, but did she continue vetting? Mm, she did not continue vetting. But as she began to vet again, she found some things she didn't like. And she said, I don't know if this is the partnership I need. So she made the decision she needed to do for herself to move forward, right? But I'm telling you this story because even though she decided to move forward, it wasn't a clean break. This person was all in her business, knew all of her business, had access to even her emails, all of her emails, had access to all of her clients' contact information, had access to all of her intellectual property. And of course, she decided, let me clone this business. Of course, right? But this had been going on for over a decade. Now, continual vetting, because I can't say what your experience is when you start a new partnership or when you bring somebody on. I can only tell you what you should do and then to listen to your intuition and then just pray about it. If you don't get a clear answer, pray about it. That is what I can encourage you to do. But continual vetting is important. Let's go back to the tax preparer as a team member. Some clients I know, they're working with their tax preparer for years and years and years. Maybe when they got started, they didn't know much. And so this person, was the best option. Continual vetting. What are they doing now? What have they done for the past 3-4 years? Continual vetting. You don't let people off the hook because they got past one tax filing. You don't let people off the hook because you had one good year with this partner. Continual vetting it's important. So that is the case, a piece of the case of the unscrupulous partner. This situation caused and continues to cause a lot of grief and problems within businesses when they have a partner they've worked with for over a decade and they suddenly find that there's no integrity, the values don't align, all of that. So keep vetting. Like I said, you all know you vet your partner. Let your man look like he's checking his cell phone too often for text messages. It's not about jealousy, it's that intuition saying, huh? Right? You vet your children. Let your bank account, if you have a shared account, and I've done that with my children, let that bank account go into negative too many times. You're vetting even your children. So you want to vet your partners and definitely vet all your team. So we covered BOI, we did an update, and we talked about vetting your team. I want to move us into trade secrets. Why? Trade secrets goes with vetting your team. The BOI was just an update, but what I really wanted to talk about is vetting your team and trade secrets, and not just trade secrets. I'm talking about you understanding your niche and your economic value your gifts bring to the world. right? I think about, I hate to use this example, but it's coming up for me. Um, McDonald's. Whatever their niche is, there's something about those fries that gives more economic value than any other establishment or restaurant that's making fries. Just think of it like that. I guess y'all can tell I'm hungry. Let me try to wrap this up so I can get some dinner. But what is your niche? And what is the economic value? You need to know that for yourself. You need to understand that for yourself because that's your number one trade secret. That's your number one trade secret. Some people are like, I don't have any intellectual property. I just, whatever it is that they do. Oh, I just bake goods, or I just create eyeglass frames, or I'm just the Most High put something in us like a spiritual fingerprint that we bring to the world that nobody else does. That's your number one trade secret. So back to know thyself. What are you bringing into this container that is your business to give to the world? What's special about you? This is important that you know it so you can convey it to your team. And once you do that, you can protect thyself and protect thy business, right? So we talked about vetting the team. Now we're moving into like the intellectual property of it all. Here's some key pointers to developing your team and your trade secrets protocols. One, must have an agreement in writing. Remember I talked about the unscrupulous business partner? Had an agreement. It was not a viable agreement. Please, if you are not an attorney, I, I'm saying this from my heart because I deal with it every day. Oh, I've been doing business for a while. Whatever you know is not going to line up to an attorney's experience and know-how that's been practicing for decades. Whatever little research you did online is not going to match up. So please have an agreement in writing and reviewed. You know, I prefer for it to be prepared by an attorney, but have an agreement in writing. So that agreement that the unscrupulous business partner and my client had, it was not viable. It couldn't stand on its own. They just created something, they found a template online, I believe. And then I've had clients go use these online filers to do their partnership agreements. Please have an attorney review it. But in any event, at least have an agreement in writing, even if you think you don't need an attorney to review it. And you must have a trade secrets protocol. So you have your agreement in writing that says what everybody's going to do, what the compensation is, what the day-to-day operations look like, all of that, right? So then you go to the next step. You need a trade secrets protocol. If you are bringing to the table intellectual property, even if it's not a copyright, trademark, or a patent, and it's a trade secret, you need a trade secrets protocol. And what we do for our clients in preparing the protocol, it's really a packet of, different documents. Some of them are industry specific, but all of them have a non-compete, all of them have a non-disclosure, and all of them have a trade secrets agreement. This is important. This is super important. Because some of you all don't realize that you have intellectual property that can be protected through registration and all of the IP services that you can get. But sometimes before you get to that place, just having a trade secrets protocol will help you. So amongst all the other documents that's going to go inside this packet, you need a non-compete, a non-disclosure, and a trade secrets agreement. I'm not even going to water that down or back up off of it. That's it, a minimum of these three. And then sometimes people are thinking, well, why do I need all that? And it's not sexy when you're bringing somebody on to work with. It's not sexy if you feel like, oh my goodness, they have this amazing skill set and we're going to work so well together. Okay, I want you to build a trusting relationship with your team member because they're the people that you're going to be working late with, like I said, side by side with. You want to have all, but you still want to have this protocol in place. You must. And I always say, because I get it. It's like a prenup. A lot of times we don't even get into that because it's just not sexy. Same thing with a trade secrets protocol. It's not sexy. So this is what I encourage my clients to do. Blame the lawyer. Blame the lawyer. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry I have to put you through this, but my lawyer says, and these are our procedures for onboarding. Boom, that's it. I blame the lawyer, right? Because at the end of the day, if you don't do that, you're going to be calling me or somebody else, another attorney or another professional, to get you out of a problem. So just bite the bullet, blame the lawyer, and get them to sign these agreements. Because what's going to happen is you're going to be building together, you're going to be growing together, you're going to get real personal. It's going to be really personal. You can't get around it. I have someone on my team. I sent a text message, was it last night? Whatever, it was way after hours. And I said, how are you doing? What happened with the doctor's visit? Yes, it gets very personal like that. And so sometimes you can't avoid that when you have a team that you keep close to your heart, a team where the vision and the values are aligned. Sometimes you can't avoid that. So you best to have yourself a trade secrets protocol in place because things happen in spite of the closeness, in spite of growing and building together, in spite of all of that, you need to have this piece of paper. Like I said, I look at it similar to a prenuptial agreement. That may sound dramatic, I still look at it that way. And I'm going to tell you a story in a bit about somebody. We'll get to it. So back to this. Integrity, work ethic, aligned values, and personal development. So the number one way to protect your customized strategy and the business that you created with the most high, of course, trade secrets. Trade secrets, when properly codified, protect your business. Yes, we want to go out there and have fun, but put a dang helmet on, okay? Go out there and play your best game, live your best life. You would not tell your child, oh, just go have fun. No, you're going to say have fun, but put this helmet on. Put a helmet on your business, and that's how you're going to protect that business. As I said, these are the key. Agreement in writing, trade secrets protocol, and within that protocol packet, it must include these three: non-compete, non-disclosure, and a trade secrets agreement at a minimum. Like I said, you want to consider industry norms and all of that. And so if you were going to work with us, we don't stop at those three. We make it more of a well-rounded packet so that it's really specific to your industry. However, if you do not have an attorney, if you are not working with even us, remember non-compete, non-disclosure, and a trade secrets agreement. So, the unscrupulous business partner continued. Why having a team vetting strategy includes intellectual property protections. So tell me why. Why did my client call me and say, this former business partner, after going through all the drama of separating business, a lot of drama, a lot of compliance, a lot of due diligence, a lot of time and energy going into this, why are they out there violating the intellectual property clause? How is it that they're doing that? You know how? It's because they noticed that you stopped vetting. You stop vetting them and you trust them implicitly. And even though your business is no longer in the same form with the two of you as partners, they think they know you. Ah, she stopped vetting after 6 months. She stopped vetting after 2 years. I can get away with this. I can get away with this. And well, my client called me, oh, very frustrated and upset and heartbroken because this is somebody that she's known for a long time. Not only did they work together, you don't work together, build and grow together and not get personal. So she was like borderline devastated that this person would be doing this, right? But she stopped vetting. So now we have more work to do. Now we got to get into cease and desist letters going out. Now we got to get into all types of IP infringement language. We can't just do a cease and desist. Now we got to put teeth to it, right? Push you all the way in your masculine. The thing is, vetting is a feminine, intuitive thing. I remember when I was younger, just being around my mother, my grandmother, my aunts, my older aunts, my grandmother's sisters, the way they look at you and can tell you where you've been and what you did, intuition. And doing that was not meant to judge you, it was to give you guidance, right? So you're going to be vetting your team, but you definitely need to be vetting to protect that business. So, fine. My client was able to get out of that business situation, but she's still tormented by an unscrupulous business partner because the vetting did not continue. Do you know my client did not even think, let me protect my intellectual property until after all of this started? And so now we on the low, we're trying to get things taken care of because we see this person is getting out of control. And, a year and a half, 2 years later, our hands are full dealing with this person because you didn't vet. They saw you, you don't vet. I can get away with this. I got away with it in the business. I'm going to get away with it after the business. And, the client was like, well, maybe she didn't say pray it away. Let God handle it. Maybe I'll just, all of these things. And I'm like, lady, this is how this woman read you and knew you was going to think exactly that and had the audacity to breach the contractual agreement and do what she's doing. Y'all, do not get in bed with unscrupulous people. And if you just happen to fall into bed with them, be vetting. Do not stop vetting because these red flags would have popped up for my client maybe in year 2, definitely in year 4. As the profits are going up and they're making good money, that's when your red flags really jump out at you. Vet continuously. Continuously. Oh, I have another case study, the sneaky employee. Ooh, why having team vetting strategy includes intellectual property protection. Now, this one isn't so bad. This is actually a good one. I know it seems like I give y'all these horror stories. I know I give you horror stories, but this is a good one. I will tell you about this client. She runs a marketing agency. I believe that's what is considered a marketing agency or firm. And she hired an employee to help create some of the content for a client. And she was vetting. She knew to vet. Now, I will say she's a little bit older than me and a little bit older than a lot of people in this group. So I will say maybe her tuning into her intuition was a little bit better than the client with the unscrupulous business partner because she was vetting. And after about 6 months, she was like, oh no, they have to go. They have to go. Right? So she terminated them. And of course, whatever she learned in her vetting came to light. Why was this employee over there trying to clone her business? Why was this employee taking her intellectual property that they gained access to? What else did they do? And putting it off as their own. Now, some of the things that were created, they helped create, or some of the IP pieces they helped to create. But this client had a protocol. One, there was an agreement. So I was delighted because Not only was there an agreement, it was a full-on employee agreement. This was a W-2 employee. And the agreement says everything you're creating here within the scope of this position is owned by the company. That's what having a protocol will do for you. In addition to that, I'm getting excited because I gave y'all horror stories. I'm glad I have a good one. In addition to that, she had her intellectual property registered. So she had all of that. So this person not only was in violation, this person was in trouble and, almost on the borderline of some criminal stuff going on. Why? Because she had a protocol. Now, it was easy. It was an easy takedown, much easier than the unscrupulous business partner. Why was it an easy takedown? We had the protocols in place. We had the agreements between my client and her employee. We have all that in place, which include non-compete, include non-disclosure, and include IP belongs to the company. In addition to that, she was routinely seeking to register her intellectual property. And this particular one that's at the top of my head, it was an animated piece. So cute. It was an animated piece that she was using with to promote some material for one of the municipalities that she has as clients and registered. So she outright owned it, not just with the agreement, but with the copyright registration. Now, this is what we do know. Courts have continuously, or not continuously, increasingly been dismissing actions that are brought for copyright infringement when there is no copyright registration, not a copyright application, full-on registration. That means the matter's been adjudicated, an examiner has put his seal on it, and you got the certificate, right? So it was just easy. It was easy. So it was less work. She got to stay way out of her masculine, definitely in her feminine, because she could just fall back and rely on her protocols. And the infringement immediately stopped. Unlike our unscrupulous business partner, who to this day we're having challenges with. Now, listen, we will be victorious. I claim that. What I'm saying is, with you just put these basic protocols in place, it allows you to stay soft. It allows you to work your business from an intuitive place and you're not all trying to fight. Why? Because the protocols are in place. Excuse me, that's registered. Thank you. Excuse me, you were an employee. Here's your agreement. It says the intellectual property is owned by the company. Thank you. Yeah, that's it. So I love that story because it's not a scary one. Because I'm always telling y'all scary things that happen. I love that. And the sneaky employee one. What else do we have here? Oh, we're at the end. Yay. Okay, here's your call to action. If any of these stories, if any of these systems and protocols resonate with you and you think you want to work more closely with my firm, please call or text, preferably to text, 646-859-3915. We have various ways that you can work with the firm. We have the full-on Exhale and Elevate. We have the Goddess Guard, and we also have Dream Lawyer's Family Favorite. So I always say everybody wants to be the family fave, and so I always want to share that. So what does the family fave give you? Access to priority to all programs and all events, top priority. And what does that mean? Webinars. So if you're receiving this, you're already part of Dream Lawyers family. You're not necessarily family fave, maybe. Maybe you're not there yet, but access to the entire content, not just because we have bonus content that we're not necessarily including for everybody. Workshops, all trainings, priority access to, priority in consultation, booking appointments. Listen, remember I'm talking about let's stay in our feminine. That means I don't want to work myself to death. So we have to draw a line in the sand about how many people we can work with so I can give my full heart to you. And how much do I want to work? So what do? How do you prioritize it? I pay attention to the family faves. That's going to bump you up. I'm sitting here looking at how many people are trying to book me for Monday or Tuesday. Who's on the family phase? If I know I can only have three people that week, right? Who's on the family phase? You on the family phase? Boom, you're in. You can talk to people in the family phase. They will tell you they will get an appointment like ASAP, right? So appointment setting, priority in all Q&A. I'm going to do a little bit of the Q&A after this. And priority delivery of Perception. Woo! Every time I get to that slide, I get excited. That is our new publication that is going to print either this week or next week. I'm not sure. I have to talk to my people, my team that I've vetted and I continually vet, right? I got to talk to them the exact date, but I'm excited about this magazine, y'all. This is the markup. Now, this is not what you will receive in your mail. This is not what you receive, but it's a good vibe, right? Perception. Because I want you to pay attention to how you're perceiving things. That's really what this magazine is about. It's like, what's your perception? That's it's a twist on perception, right? And so it's a mashup. I keep saying this because I was trying to figure out how do I describe it. It's a mashup of OMAG meets Vogue Mag meets business compliance. So we're heavy on the business, but we're not so far in our masculine that we can't also talk about fashion and lifestyle, interior decorating and beauty and makeup, right? All the things that go into a woman's magazine. But this isn't just a woman's magazine. This is a magazine for business women, and not just business women that have a personalized daily personal development practice, all the things, right? And so it covers like anything that as a woman you're thinking about, you're turning over in your head as it relates to all the hot, whether it's health and wellness, whether it's hormonal imbalance, relationships, of course, mindset, mental health. And then it's heavy on business trends. What's next in business, small businesses? What's next for women? What are the trends? What do you need to tap into to leverage your business? All that's in perception. So here's a quick review. What this presentation is not. It's been a lot of things, but it is not legal advice. It is not tax advice. Be clear. We have not created an attorney-client or CPA-client relationship. After you've reviewed the checklist that I shared, use it. Use it during interviews. Share with your team. And if you or your team still have questions, contact us. It's not a problem. I don't mind. Just know if you're not on the Dream Lawyers Family Fave, you may not get to speak to me right away, but contact us. So I want to remind you, as a quick review, that many small business owners think they're too busy to sit down with their team and discuss the company culture. Too busy to discuss expectations, personal development, core values, and too busy within themselves to know thyself and know thy business and protect thy business to make sure you have some IP protocols in place. They think they're too busy. But think about my client with the unscrupulous business partner. What we are going through right now versus when she thought she didn't have time for it, right? Just, I'll let you answer that, whether you have time for this. But also many people interviewing for a job or interviewing like in conversations wanting to create a JV, a joint venture, or a partnership with you. They don't even think about foundational elements of your business. A lot of them just want to make some money. Pay attention to that. Use the checklist. So we discussed ways to spot team members that may become a liability. We did that good when we talked about it wasn't unscrupulous business. Oh, it was a sneaky employee. We gave you some top questions to ask when vetting your team, just for vetting your team or potential team members. And again, I don't care if you're bringing on a VA. I don't care if you're hiring a full-time assistant. I don't care if it's an independent contractor or it's a W-2 employee. You got to go through those 4 questions. We also discussed the importance of building your company culture before you hire or collaborate, right? Even if you want to sit down and discuss a collaboration, you might want to walk with an NDA. You might want to walk with a trade secrets agreement. right? Because we see it all the time where people are like, well, this person said they were going to invest in my business and they asked me to explain it to them and they showed me my stuff. Well, your stuff turns out to be intellectual property that you didn't protect. So at a minimum, we need an NDA at a minimum, right? I always say with my clients to go ahead and get everything registered because I know what the reality is. If somebody's offering you $2 billion to invest in your business, my clients need to get some internal strength sometimes to be able to say, okay, I need you to sign this NDA. And so to ease the pressure on that, sometimes when I know these meetings are about to happen, I can try to expedite the filing of a trademark or some copyrightable material or definitely patent material. And if nothing else, your trade secrets protocols, right? So you want to know the importance of building your culture before you collaborate. That's that know thyself, know thy business. It's also protect thy business. So you want to protect your business from the inside. And that's what a trade secrets protocol will do for you. It will protect you from the inside. And no matter how cool your company is and everybody gets along and you're good, you need to be like, listen, I know this is uncomfortable, but my lawyer really wants, I need to be in compliance with my business. So my lawyer is suggesting, or you might just be straight up, listen, as a part of working here or working on this project, it doesn't have to be in your business for the whole time. Maybe it's just one project. As part of working on this project, I need to sign this to you before I can share the information you need to do your job. Or, like I said, go into the other side. Oh, my attorney, blame it on the lawyer. So that's the number one way to protect your business from the inside. And I gave you the easiest ways to join Dream Lawyers family. And not just the family, because if you're seeing this, you're probably already in the family, because how else would you get it? Because this invitation only webinar. But Family Fave. So Family Fave is going to give you access to all those things, including perception, including the full replays with all the bonus content. And that's who we are. We're the Dream Lawyers. I am the founder of the Dream Lawyers team. And who are we? Well, me, of course, San Semi. But it's not just me. I have a full team. I have beautiful women that I work with. I have an amazing legal support person. I have amazing admin support person, and they each are developing out their teams. I love that. Build a team and let the team build a team, right? So that we can have an entire legal support team, an entire admin team. And then I have some other amazing people, business strategists. I have junior attorneys, accountants. Yeah. Oh, I have another senior attorney, but a couple of junior attorneys. And then, of course, we have our strategists and our tax people that work with the strategists, and we sign it off as legal, right? So that's what you get with the Dreamy Lawyers team. Reach out. 646-859-3915 or go to wasemilaw.com/family fave. That's WASEMELAW.com/FAMFAV. And that is it for the day. I hope you gain what you needed to get. I'm going to stay on a little bit longer for those that are in the family fave because I want to definitely answer your questions. Some questions I got, I'm trying to see, were really specific, so I don't want to put it on here and discuss it for the world. So I'm going to do that for our bonus content that's only for the family fave, dealing with tax. There were some residual questions dealing with taxing, dealing with LLCs. Um, what else did I get? Intellectual property questions. Um, Also, the BOI, there were questions people had regarding the BOI litigation. Like I said, go ahead and if you have access to the DIY Your BOI webinar, it has all that information in there. But I want to give some specific questions for those that are in the Dream Lawyers family fave. Give them some love. I want to love all my people. And I thank y'all. I thank y'all. Enjoy the rest of your day, your evening, your weekend, or whatever time it is that you're viewing this. All right. Thank you. Okay. So now there should be no one left in the room that is not in the family fave. So I want to answer your questions. Specifically, um, it was about the litigation for the BOI. I mentioned earlier in the presentation that there's been a lot of litigation. There was the United States District Court of the Eastern District of Texas, right? There was a decision rendered by that court on February 18th. And what did it say? Reporting requirements are once again in full effect because there had been a pause because of all this litigation. So businesses are required to file identifying information about their companies before the deadline. The thing is, the deadline was changing. The other thing is that the Department of Treasury recognized that reporting companies need additional time to comply. And so they use that as a reason to keep changing the date. So, yeah, they extended it there for 30 days from February 19th. And for the majority of reporting companies, the deadline to file was updated to March 21st, 2025. If you need assistance with that, please reach out to me. I would suggest you go ahead and watch the webinar DIY Your BOI. I keep having to think about it. It's rhyming, but it still trips me up every time I say it. DIY Your BOI, where I do a really deep dive in that and give you everything. So pretty much nothing's changed about that at this point, aside from the filing date. So you can watch that. There's still good information there. What else? What else? There are some companies where the deadline is in April because they qualify for disaster relief extensions. If you wonder that you fall in one, if you have not filed your BOI yet and you wonder if you fall in that category, you want to reach out to me, and because your deadline could be in April and not in March. What else? What else? What else? We talked about those penalties, almost $600 a day, and criminal fines, which can be up to 2 years in prison in addition to $10,000. That's astronomical to me. But they're really going hard in terms of trying to stop this money laundering. Okay, what else is going on in terms of litigation? Yeah, we talked about the extension. So first, the deadline was in December. So the DIY Your BOI webinar was late November, I believe, in preparation for December's filing. They moved that to January 2025. And then they moved it again to, what did they say, March. What else? What else? That's it, I believe, for the BOI. The other question I got was regarding filing taxes. So I want to address these leftover questions from our tax series. So someone wrote in asking about, they said they created their entity as a solo member LLC. They did not file the compliance documents that their state required, and so that state gave them an administrative dissolution. So, we studied what was going on, and we said, okay, let's try to reinstate the LLC because you need it. You need that limited liability company. We have talked about that in part one and part two in vetting your tax preparer. You need a container for what you're doing. And this is important because this particular client, the entity had lapsed and had been administratively dissolved. And even though she had this entity, she had always been filing as, what do you call it? A solo practitioner. Listen, yo, solo practitioner, it ain't it. No, you need to get your business into a container. Okay, because then you can benefit better from the tax code. So we got to go back and fix years of damage, and there's a ton of money that's owed for her. But anyway, so with this question about whether or not she, in reinstating her limited liability company, if you want to go ahead and make that into a multi-member, you can do whatever you want to do. But remember that with an LLC, it's a pass-through. So if you have people that you want to claim as members, be it family members or your best friend, because you want them to benefit from owning a piece of the company should something happen to you. A lot of times my clients are saying, well, I'm a sole member, I have a sole member LLC, but if something were to happen to me, how do I resolve that? Now, there are tons of ways to resolve it. You could bring in more members, or you could sit down with me and create a different kind of strategy. In any event, so she was asking about whether bringing in two members. I don't know. Just by the question, I can't tell. I don't have any information. I will say that you can do it. You can add members if you think that's in your best interest for your company as a strategy. But remember, with regards to taxes, it's a pass-through, so everybody's going to be hit. It's not just the entity that will be hit with taxes. The entity won't be hit. The taxes will pass through. Okay. Let's see. I have other questions. We talked about that. Oh, somebody's asking about entity formation. Should they form a JV or a limited liability company? Okay. Traditionally, the way we do it, two entities come together and do a JV, a joint venture. So I'm not sure exactly what the intention of this JV is. I'm not sure. You have to be very careful with putting together a joint venture agreement. It's too nuanced for me to just be able to read the question and answer it. I will say that joint ventures are a good thing. They were created so that you can do business with people without becoming partners. So you're going to be doing business for a particular purpose or particular, well, all businesses are for a purpose, but for a particular project, put it that way. So let's go back to the unscrupulous business partner. If there had been a joint venture, then that partner would not have access to all the intellectual property and all of the assets of the business. With the joint venture, you're locked into this small little container where you're sharing information about a particular thing. Let me think of an example for a JV. Oh, here's a JV. My company, right? Or my law firm decides to co-sponsor an event, right? That's a JV. We're not providing any legal services. These are the specific reasons that we're going to JV, joint venture, and that's it. So when the event is over, that's it. If you are working with somebody and you all want to do an event, if you want to do something simple or something more involved, like an event or a retreat, that could be a joint venture. Or if you decide, okay, every week we're gonna, do some sort of podcast. The podcast could be a joint venture, right? Very limited in scope. So when you're deciding whether or not to do a partnership versus a joint venture, I lean towards a joint venture because it's a good way to vet before you actually get in bed with the person. Okay, what else? We talked about administrative dissolution already, so I don't need to talk about that. Entity formation. How come y'all asking all these questions? This one is not administrative dissolution. It is a dissolution of a partnership, um, while maintaining the entity status. So that's a curious question. So they're saying, I don't have an administrative dissolution, but I have a partnership and an LLC. Okay. This is kind of complicated. I'm trying to read. So it's not administrative dissolution. So the I guess the LLC is still intact, but then there's a partnership. So my question would be, is the partnership, so there's a partnership first, and then you converted the partnership into a limited liability company. So you had the partnership so that you could vet each other, and then you decide to go ahead and create the container, which is a limited liability company. Okay, so I'm thinking that's where this is going. The partnership's dissolved. Okay, is the partnership dissolving because you've created the limited liability company, or is the partnership dissolving because you don't want to work together anymore? I'm reading these questions. I got to get through a little bit slowly. This says while maintaining the entity status. Okay. So the partnership, that means your friendship, your relationship is dissolving. That, the literal partnership, because you don't have a legal partnership if you convert the legal partnership into a limited liability company. So somebody is trying to maintain the limited liability company, the LLC, although the partnership itself is dissolved. Now, what is the question? It says, do I need a new entity? Okay. So you want to maintain the entity or create a new entity doing the same business. Okay, I got your question. I would suggest, if at all possible, to keep the entity. I always say what we do. I'm not saying what people should do. I'm just saying what we do. We encourage our clients to keep the oldest entity that's been in existence. So if you think about it, if you dissolve your entity and start fresh, if you they said they've been in business for 18 years. Okay. So you have an 18-year-old business that has, what do you call it? History, banking history, client relationship history, all this paperwork that shows that this entity has existed for 18 years. You're going to get bumped up in priority for a lot of things. For capital, you're going to get bumped up in priority for even opening new bank accounts. Even if you decide, okay, I'm going to move into another type of business, like this business here can grow into a parent company and have offshoot businesses. That's what a business that's 18 years old can do. You do not want to be starting over. Do whatever you can to do to maintain that entity status. If you need help brokering that deal with your partner, your current partner, that I guess there's some kind of issue going on in the company, reach out to me. I'll help you. I can work with you all to come to an agreement where that person can go in peace. And that's super important. That's just something that we do here. It's not like um, I am a certified arbitrator. So I can actually sit and mediate so everybody is happy. So what can happen is when you're dealing with more in the masculine world as opposed to the feminine and intuitive world. Things can look great on paper. Boom, you're good. You've negotiated, but there's this entanglement, an energetic entanglement that only a feminine energy can work with you to dissolve. That might sound like some little woo-woo way out there because it is. But I can help you dissolve that energy so that everybody can be peaceful, everybody can be happy. Because if you don't work through those pieces, even if you have a great agreement and somebody's bitter, it's not resolved. It's not that it can't be resolved. You're gonna stay prayed up, right? Of course. But that is something that we do that's a little bit special that you may not find in other firms. And I think that's it. I think that's it. So I will be sharing this with everyone that's in the Dreamers Family Fave. And if you are not in the Family Fave, and you happen to get this, you're getting this because you submitted a question. And I want to make sure you get your question answered. Or, I know that you're going through something in your business and this Q&A will help you. All right, I will speak to you all later. Enjoy the rest of your day. Jump on that Dream Lawyers Family Fave. WASEMELAW.com/FAMFAV and get all the things. Access to me, priority and all the trainings. You're going to get the replays because a lot of people are getting these replays. We're about to cut that off. We can't keep continually giving that just because you're in the family. We will be giving some, but you're not going to have access to all the content. So it's $47. $47, you're going to get a magazine, you're going to get priority treatment, you get to be the family fave, all of that. These questions that you're submitting, I'm going to answer your questions before I answer somebody else's. If you need to call and have a session with me, whether it's one-on-one, in person, or over Zoom, I'm going to prioritize that for you because you prioritized your business. So if you prioritize your business and thought this was something valuable to invest in your business, to get this type of legal advice, not legal advice in the formal sense, Legal information. You can, if you are seeing there's value in this legal information and business development information, tax strategy information, jump on Family Fave. It's $47. If you don't like it, unsubscribe. But I guarantee you will grow and you will know your business and yourself by working with Dream Lawyers Family Fave for sure. All right, I will see you all later.